Hello there, YouTube. I have a bit of a product review for you, which is new and unusual. I have here something called the Ottergami bullet journal. It is from Ottergami.com. You can see there. It is Ottergami Paper Co. It is the hardcore vegan leather A5 notebook, so it's fake leather. It feels really good though. 192 premium pages, bonus accessories and rear pocket. It's a really good dotted notebook. I highly recommend these. They come in different colours. This one is this mottled marble, but I do have others that I can show off. There is this one here, which is kind of a honeycomb. There is this nice white one, and there is this kind of leather one here. These are ones that I previously used. This is the new one that I've just opened. Now, I just want to discuss this because I've been using this product for a while. This is not, by the way, a sponsored video, just before anyone asks. As you can see, I have been ordering these for a while. I have been using these as my bullet journals for years. So this is not a sponsored review. If Ottergami wants to sponsor me, I will gladly accept a sponsorship because this is a product I actually use. And I would gladly stick a little advert at the beginning of my videos, sponsoring videos for this kind of product, because this is something I actually use. So I would gladly stick an advert for this kind of a product on my video, because that would be me endorsing something that, as you can see, I am now going to openly endorse free of charge. So that's not a problem. When you see these kind of endorsements from people, you've got to question, would they endorse it if money wasn't involved? And yes, I would. Here you can see there's the front page. This is not used. Nice front page, simple. When you open it out, it has simple dotted pages, nice little bookmark, little ribbon bookmarks. The dots are pretty good. It has 26 squares going along, and I believe it's 38 going down, but I'm just going to count them to be on the safe side. I was right, it is 38. I've been using them for a long time, so I'm used to how many squares you get, 26 by 38. Because I've divided them up before for certain displays. Like, I know that there's 26 along because I leave the first box, and then I have a box for every hour of the day, and then I leave the last box. And that gives me 24 hours, so I have one box per hour of the day. And that leaves me like a little checkbox if I want to do a 24-hour clock. It's a really handy little way to make one page equal one day, or if you wanted to divide a page in half, you know that it's 38 long, so that means that 38 divided by 2, that's 19. So you've got 19 squares, you count down 19, draw a line, you've got 19 and 19, you've now got 2 days. You can easily just divide that up, and you can map out 24 hours, and you can easily make this into a day planner that way. So these work very, very well. They've got a nice little loop here. You can fit a standard pen in that. I use pretty standard ballpoints. They fit very comfortably, very snug there. It's got a little snapping elastic to hold it closed. When you start using it, you'll find that these pages seem to expand as you add ink to them, and it won't close properly without this to hold it closed. It'll kind of fan open by about half an inch. But this little elastic will hold it closed quite comfortably. That's nice. This is because this is very, very, very thick paper. This is really thick, solid paper, which is what you want, because you can really press hard. You can apply a lot of ink and it will not go through. What I have found is that I use a bit of blotting paper that I put between the pages, on the page before and after when I'm writing, because when I press, I don't want the ink on the page underneath to press onto the page after, but that's just because I'm so heavy-handed when I'm writing that I can force ink off the page onto the page beneath. That, I think, has nothing to do with the journal, but to do with the fact that I use ink pens, and I am extremely heavy-handed, so I always use a bit of blotting paper. That's a bit of advice that I would say for everyone. There's a nice little otter logo. It's not overly intrusive. I think that fits with all the designs and doesn't look out of place. The logo is on the back, Ottergami. Again, not overly intrusive, not out of place. It fits every design. Doesn't matter if you've got this nice mottled marble pinkish purple, or if you've got the leather-looking brown one. They look just as good regardless. So I highly recommend these. You can do quite a lot with this. Now, I'm going to show you pages from one of my other journals so you can see what I mean. So, if I get this one, which is a journal I've actually used. Again, you can see, because this has gone kind of loose, that this is a journal I've used quite a bit. And it would just fall tight. Now, if I turn to a page where I've actually used it, you can see that I've done various different things in this. And I've done things like, in this one, I have a list of my platinum trophies that I got on PlayStation, which I was tracking, and I wanted a book for gaming. I've then got video games where I wanted to track trophies, and I was just placing them in here so that I could mark them off as I was doing. For example, there's the page for Elden Ring. I've not actually filled it in. Now, that was not one I was using as a day planner, but you get the impression. Here's one I've been using as a day planner. So, if we go to one here, let's have a little look here. Here is my entry for September 1st. You can see that I've got a fairly standard entry there. And yeah, it's a pretty standard, I have a little thing, and I can explain what all these different colours mean if anyone actually cares. I keep a fairly comprehensive hour by hour tracker for what I do in my journal, so that I know what I'm using each hour for each day. I do this because I need to do this for my ADHD. If I don't do this, I will waste the day away. So I have to do this to mark what I'm doing with each day. So every single hour is accounted for. In this case, the brown, I'll just go over this. The brown is reading time. The blue is time spent watching YouTube. The half blue. If it was full blue, that would have been time spent watching a film. The white square with a tiny little line in it, that is just idle time spent on social media. The orange half one, that is time spent journaling. Then there is the lines, the box with lines in it, that is household chores. The green square, the one that is half green, that is time spent playing video games. The reason that I have that in the top half is that if I'm playing an idle-based video game, anything that doesn't require my full attention, it only uses half the square. Because if I'm doing something that I could theoretically do at the same time as something else, I have divided them up. So if it's an active task like journaling, but I could do it alongside a passive task like watching YouTube. Passive tasks go on the bottom half of the square, active tasks go on the top half of the square. So if I'm journaling and listening to a YouTube video at the same time, I can put them in the same box. See how I'm planning it? So as you can see, that's what I did for this day. I spent a lot of the day watching YouTube, playing a video game, reading. I had a fairly lazy day there. I had a couple of days where I did a couple of hours where I was reading, a couple of hours where I was doing a bit of household chores, a couple of hours where I was on social media and just being idle. Remember that these are broad generalisations of what I was spending the time doing. So there's only so much that I can mark on. But yeah, you can see that I like to mark on the weather, and I like to mark on a news story of the day. In this case, it was the UN officially accused China of human rights violations. That was in all the papers. It was on the news. So I marked that down. When I'm reading back, I'd like to be able to look at the news and go, oh, that was the thing that was in the news on that day. So it's not necessarily anything that I personally care about. It's just the biggest news story that is in the news that day. And if the biggest thing in the news that day was the same thing that was in the news yesterday, the second biggest thing that was in the news that day. So yeah. That was the biggest thing in the news on the 1st of September, so that was the thing that ended up there. And as you can see, the entry is fairly short. It simply reads, today marks the start of a brand new journal, and just me stating that I'm starting a new journal, because I didn't really do anything of note that day. It was a Thursday. I wasn't running any games. I wasn't leaving the house. I didn't have any appointments. I was just watching a bit of BookTube, played a bit of video game, and read a little bit of a book. A fairly standard day. That's how I track my day, and that's what I use my bullet journals for. Now, I can have tasks, which, if you look at bullet journals, you can see the task thing that they do, where you write down tasks with a bullet. You cross when you complete, you put an arrow if you're moving it to the next day, put a line through it if you're no longer doing it. I didn't do it for this day, but I do it on other days. And that's because I didn't have any tasks I needed to do on that day. It was a day that I effectively had free. I did have a fairly busy day on the Wednesday, and I knew I was going to be busy on the Friday, so I was purposely taking it easy on that day. But yeah, that's the journals. So, here I was thinking I was doing a product review, and I was going to end up actually reviewing my day and justifying why I sat around watching YouTube for a day. I'm allowed. I'm a disabled man, damn it. Allow me to sit around like a lazy couch potato man child with dignity. Anyway, I highly recommend these journals. They are really, really good. They do the job. They are very high quality. The paper is very thick. It's very, very tear resistant. The binding is extremely good. The binding is sewn, as you can see here. The binding is sewn in place, so let's move so the pages are not going to be ripped out unless they're pulled out. In fact, if we go to certain pages, you'll be able to see when you get to certain pages are sewn in groups of about 5 or 6. So if we find a central page where you can see where they're sewn in, you can see the silks where they're sewn. If I ever find a page where it's sewn, it should be easy. There's loads of them. There we go. As you can see, you can see there. I'm trying to show you, but then I'm obscuring the camera. You can see where my finger is. It's sewn in, and you can see the thread. The only bad thing that I would say about the way that these are sewn is that when you get to the point where you're in between clumps where they're sewn, they tend to glue the clumps together a little. So you can see that each clump is glued to the next clump. Each clump of pages is glued to the next clump of pages, and sometimes you can get 2 pages that are slightly stiffly glued. My position there is to just grab the pages and just pry them apart gently. You'll feel a bit of resistance, and then the pages will suddenly fall apart ever so slightly, by about 1 millimetre. They'll usually come apart at the top a little bit at first. They won't come out of the book, but they will come apart a bit, and you'll see an ever so slight gap between them. That's fine. It just gives them a little bit more give, because otherwise they don't really fall flat. I'm sure it's just to give them a little bit more rigidity so that they don't fall out of the book. It's just to make sure it's not reliant on that one bit of thread. But the thread is strong. They don't need the glue. So I don't like that the glue is there, and I think that the glue makes those few pages that have glue on them feel a bit stiff. But it's only a little flaw, and it's not on every page. It's only once every 20 pages or so there'll be a glued page where you can feel that when you turn the page, this page now feels a bit stiffer. So you're going to have to pry it open just a touch until you feel the glue right at the edge of the divide between the pages come away. It's not a huge deal. You'll get a feel for it. As for the rear pocket, you do get a few things in the rear pocket. I'll say right now, I have never used anything that's in this rear pocket, and I don't know why you'd bother. You get these stencils. Honestly, they are less than useless. They're a goddamn waste of time. They really are. Just don't bother. Right. Why would you? There's a bit of what I can only presume is blotting paper and a thank you note. The pocket's not too bad though. If you ever wanted to put a note in the back, that'd be useful. So that's all I've really got to say on these. I think these notebooks are probably the best notebooks that money can buy. Now, they cost about 15 quid each. That's British money. I think they're $15.99 each. Last time I looked. They come in their own bag. They come wrapped in grease paper. I'm wrapped in this grease paper here with this little sticker. So they come well packaged and they come looking very clean. So you are definitely going to get a good product for your money. You are better off buying one of these for 15, 16 quid than you are spending a £5 on a cheaper notebook that's just not going to last you. I will say at 192 pages, if you only use 1 page per day and you make it a daily diary, you are going to need more than one a year. So you can't use this as a yearly diary if you're going to go with 1 day per page, which is something that I have had to make a realization on here. It's why I have so many. Is I will easily go through about 4 of them a year, because I will have a daily diary, a daily bullet journal, where I will have 1 page per day. I will also have a media journal, where I'll track my video games and my reading habits and my TV habits, because I like to keep notes on what I read, what I play, and what I watch, so that I've got a record of what I thought of them. I don't want to put that on my daily thing, because then I'll lose it. But I can reference it, and what I tend to do is I will put, at the very beginning, that little page, I'll put bullet journal, the date I started it, and a reference number. And then I'll reference back the reference journal where I am, and also number my pages. This is something that I recommend everyone do. These journals do not come numbered. Number your pages. I number just the odd number. Number the odd pages in the top right hand corner. So every other page, just the odd page numbers. Just so I know which page is which. If you only need to number one of them, you don't need to number the even number, because you know the even, because it's one less than the odd. And that's enough that I can keep track, because then anytime that I'm, say, talking about a book, I can go to the to my reading notebook, and I can start a thing about a book. I can go to that, and I go, right, I'm going to write a thing about this book. I start a new book review or a book thoughts page, and I write about that book, and I then go to my index page in that notebook, and I add to the index the title and author of that book, and then the page reference. And then anytime I'm reading that book, I in my bullet journal, in my daily logs, I will write that I'm reading that book, and then the reference for the journal and the page number for that book, so that I can go back to the page for the journal for that book, and I can go back and see my thoughts on that book. This is how you keep your thoughts written down. People who annotate in the margins of their fucking books are monsters. Buy journals, you creatures of destruction. Buy this. Write down in notebooks. Stop destroying books. Notebooks are cheap enough. Buy a goddamn notebook if you've got thoughts to write down. You do not need to deface a book. If you annotate your book, you're a goddamn monster. I have thoughts when I read as well. I read with a notebook next to me. Bloody monsters. You people who write in the margins or underline or highlight, and you absolute demonic creature, you scum that do this to library books. You deserve to be buried under the library, alive if necessary. If your thoughts were more important than the thoughts in the book, you would have been hired to write the goddamn book. You weren't. No one gives a shit what you've got to say. The important words are the words already in the book. Your words are not important. Stop writing them in the fucking book. If you want to write them in the goddamn diary. Right. If your diaries are important, someone will publish them after you're dead. That's the fact of the matter. If your diaries are ever important, some sod will find them after you've croaked and they'll get published. Very few people's diaries are important. Mine certainly won't be. There is an entire shelf of my diaries and no one will give a shit about them until after I'm dead. And then the only person who will care about them after I'm dead is the person who has the sorry job of having to recycle the fucking things. That is all that's ever going to happen to my diaries. Anyway, I just wanted to say, if you're in the market for a bullet journal, Ottergami, fantastic journal. I highly recommend it. Really good for bullet journaling. Really, really good if you want to keep a track of something. It's good for freehanding tables. It's good for freehanding trackers. It's great for day trackers. It's got just the right number of boxes, right number of dots for you to write boxes if you want to do day tracking. Because with 26, you've got enough for a 24-hour clock. If you want to track TV shows and things like that, most TV shows, you could track them along the same axis because TV shows tend to have 22, 23, 24, or at the very most 26 episodes in a season if they're American. So again, you can track them if you're doing a media blog. You could track them with the same kind of thing, with one episode being a square or a dot along the page. They are perfect for that. They're perfect for monthly tracking down the page because with 38, you've got enough that you can introduce the month and write a line or two and still have 30 lines to have one line per day for the whole month. With 31 for the months that decide to be a bit different. So yeah, you've got enough for all of that. It's just right size-wise. Get a couple of them, you won't regret it. So that's my little product review, and I'll see you next time. And yeah, Ottergami, if you fancy paying me for this, give me a bell. I'll see you then. Bye.